My entitled mother demanded I hand over my house to my pregnant little sister because she needs it more than me. I have a sister who has been the golden child to my mother, but not my father for as long as I can remember. My parents divorced when I was a teenager as my mother has always been controlling, manipulative, and narcissistic. And sadly my sister was like her little mini-me. Our mother also seemed to believe she had total authority over me anytime she so much as snapped her fingers. She'd order me around like a dog. It was demeaning. My sister always backed her up too. So no surprise I went to live with my dad full-time after our parents split while my sister stayed with mom. The two of them were very alike. Both pretty much stopped speaking with my father unless it was about money. Though I'm more like my dad. My father started teaching me how to do his line of work as soon as I turned 16 years old. I got pretty good at it. And after 12 years of working for my father, I was made a partner in his company. Things were great. But then about 8 months ago tragedy struck. My father had become somewhat immunocompromised due to being a heavy smoker for much of his life and died at only 60 years old after he caught C-19. I met my mother and sister for the first time in years after we had a socially distanced funeral for my father over a video call. My sister seemed to grieve, but my mother looked indifferent the entire time. However, I was not surprised. The last time she saw my father she screamed at him that he owed her more money, and then threatened to sue him, to which he just laughed at her. He paid alimony and child support as long as he was legally required to, and no more than that. And he even put $30,000 toward my sister's college fund. But 10 years after the divorce he was no longer legally required to send mom money because of the judge's ruling. She's by no means broke. She works the same job she has had for nearly 3 decades, fully owns the old family home we used to share, and even rents out 2 of the rooms in it to Airbnb regularly. Sometime after the funeral my dad's will was read. Apparently, he'd figured that if his heavy smoking didn't eventually do him in, something else would. I was willed nearly all of his assets from most of his money to his business and home. He left my sister a car and about $10,000 in cash. My mother only got $1,000 and a few other items that she'd been claiming were rightfully hers since the divorce. Beyond that, I got the rest. My girlfriend now lives with me in the house my father passed down to me. My sister went from finishing community college to living off her boyfriend and only working part-time online for several years. During that time she got pregnant but suffered a miscarriage. I wasn't aware until after the funeral because we had practically no contact. When lockdown hit her boyfriend's job started downsizing and eventually, he was only able to work part-time. This hampered their finances to the point he was telling her she needed to look for better employment as well since he was trying to find a second job. Then she got pregnant. She claims she and her boyfriend were careful, but calls it her miracle baby. One evening I got an unexpected knock at my door. And when I answered I was unpleasantly greeted by both my mother and sister. They walked right in without even asking and made themselves comfortable in my living room. My girlfriend and I shared a look of confusion. My sister was giggling and looking all over, seemingly giving herself a tour of my home. My mother had just plopped herself down on my sofa and snapped her fingers while demanding a cold